There we go. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a fantastic start to your week. Exciting stuff. Obviously, the end of the Disc Golf Pro Tour season. We're just kicking off the off season. We got all kinds of fun stuff there. Yeah, not a ton to go over today as far as like update wise. Really it was just like, hey, let's get through the tour championship, get through USDGC, and then our minds are focused a lot on Black Friday. Our minds are also focused on next week is the start of our social media manager, which happens to be Trevor's brother. Funny enough, the funny story behind that is he applied and we didn't even he applied and I didn't even know he was going to apply, neither did Trevor. And so then he absolutely killed his interviews. He did a fantastic job, and it came down kind of between him and one other person. And yeah, we're super stoked to be bringing him on the team to take over our social media and digital marketing. If you've seen him in Trevor's videos, you know he's going to be a great fit. So that's super exciting. He starts next week. And so I'm prepping a lot of like the onboarding side, getting him up to speed on kind of like how we look at social media, trying to dump all my knowledge of experience over the past few years, social media wise, and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's going to be great stuff. So exciting times at Foundation. And then obviously we're prepping for Black Friday, but that doesn't mean that fun stuff isn't happening this week. For instance, in 2 days on Thursday, first off on Thursday, Imposter Disc Golf Reality Series Season 2, Episode 1 releases. So very, very exciting about that. But also we have some Prodigy releases. We have the an H7, FX3, MX2, F9, A5 all dropping. We have a restock on some Ricky Jawbreaker focuses. I think the first run Melita is going to be dropping. We have ESP Sagara restock, and the seasonal Mega Glow stuff is dropping. Tomorrow we have some Lucid Moonshine Heist. We have a Moonshine Bear. We have some S-Line Vanguards, and we have some Founders dropping. We're also going to be releasing the new college hats. Our hats that are kind of two-toned. If you watched Grip Block yesterday, you saw Connor rocking one of those. They dropped this week. We brought back the college hoodie. This is my really old one, but we have it in a darker gray, and then we have it in a brown and black. That's going to drop. We have some new Foundation stamps, some 2-foil stuff on Discmania, and some 2-foil stuff on Discraft. So we're going to have MD Metal Flake C-Line and Color Glow C-Line MD3s. We have some Glow C-Line PD2s and TDs. We have some Horizon C-Line FDs. We've got some C-Line and Horizon C-Line P4s. We have some Horizon S-Line DD3s. We have Glow ESP Buzzes, Jawbreaker Z Flex Buzz SSs. We've got Passions, Zones, Raptors, Nukes, Forces, as well as a modern stamp restock. So we've got Destroyers, Firebirds, Wraith, Sidewinder, Gorgon, Classic Rock, and Flat Top KC Pro Rocks. And then also we have MVP restock on the Heck Yeah stamped. So Turbulence, Time Lapse Hex. So pretty much all of the Foundation custom stamps you could ever want, all dropping this weekend. In addition to Imposter Season 2. We're so close. 2 days away. 2 days away. I know some people were saying they have watch parties set up. It's going to be a good time. Very, very excited for that. So exciting times at Foundation. My desk is an absolute mess because I've been living in chaos. I'm going to try to clean this week now that I'm back to a normal schedule. But I'm still in a mindset of just like pure chaos. So anyways, okay, let's get into some questions. We'll make this a little bit of a shorter show today. We're gonna get straight into some questions and then wrap this thing up probably in 20-30 minutes or so. So it'll be a little bit quicker than normal, but yeah. So Derek Dennison has a question that I think a lot of people have, which are the thoughts on the Gossage controversy and meltdown. So obviously I gave kind of the opinion on the grounds of did it hit the rock or not. Unanimous yes from everyone on the ground. What's funny is if you actually go back and there's my pen. I lost this pen forever ago. If you go back and watch the coverage Perkins, who's the on the ground reporter, immediately as soon as it hits the rock, Perkins even says he just hit the rock and is going to stay OB. So on the ground, it was pretty much unanimous, minus the spotter, that he hit the rock. So the stance I'm taking is he definitely hit the rock. But here's the reality of the situation. I have heard since then that the spotter might have been a certified official, um, regardless whether he's a certified official or not. Either he said it or Jeff Springs said it, and therefore everyone went with it, right? Like, regardless of certified official, non-certified official, regardless of what the card thinks or not. Because I also don't think I could be wrong here, but I believe a certified official, their word holds weight, but I don't know how it holds weight in comparison to the rest of the card. Um, I'd have to reread the PDJ rules on that because I know the TD kind of trumps all, right? Um, but I don't know how I feel if the spotter truly had the full authority because he was wrong. That's the problem here. And if the spotter truly has 100% authority to where if the rest of the card was like, we saw and we're 100% confident he hit the rock, and just one man says, no, you didn't. And then that man is, his word is law. I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but regardless, no matter how you get there, let's talk about the actual reality of the aftermath. Because I didn't talk about this on Grip Block too much. Reality is where his disc crossed really wasn't that different from the drop zone, in the sense of like the drop zone, he's probably not making the putt. So he's probably getting up and down from there. From where he was in the fairway, it's a harder shot, but he gave himself a 30 footer. He could have obviously thrown it better. And like realistically, he should have ended up with the same score either way. That's the realistic part. Um, and so that's where, like, as much as I think that it was more how he mentally reacted to slipping on the tee pad, the time violation, and then the wrong call, how he reacted to those three things is what lost him the tournament. Those three things in and of themselves did not, because if he got up and down there, he would have still had the lead. And then if he still, so if that's one stroke there, and then he doesn't three putt on hole 16, he wins the tournament. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, it's like he was still very much in control of this tournament, even though it felt like it was out of his control to him. So I understand fully how it happened and why it happened. And like, I probably would have been in the exact same boat as Aaron Gossage if I was in those. Like, I don't think I would have mentally been able to keep it together, but he did lose himself the tournament. And the only way he lost himself the tournament was the phenomenal play of Calvin Heimberg. Because if you look at Isaac Robinson, they tied. So if Calvin, misses the eagle putt, and if Calvin throws OB on 16's tee shot, well, then Gossage is still right in this thing with Isaac Robinson, because Isaac collapsed down the stretch too. So that's the other thing, is as much as it didn't go Aaron Gossage's way, Calvin took this thing. And so you can't also overlook that. But yeah. Shay said, I happened to watch Disc Golf World's breakdown of the time violation. They started clocks at every point. You could argue Aaron addressed his lie, and he made the final clock, if that's what counts. Here's the deal. I didn't have to watch Disc Golf World's breakdown. I was there. The dude took from when he first truly addressed his lie, from someone watching on the ground, I would say 2 minutes, 2 minutes plus. Like, it didn't, it was, I agree with Aaron Gossage's argument of, this is the most important shot of my tournament. Really, you're going to call it here. Valid feelings around it. And I think that the rule itself is flawed, that every single shot is weighed equally with 30 seconds. But regardless if the rule is flawed or not, it is the rule. And Gossage 100% broke the rule. I don't think there's a way around it. Because like I said, I was there, and I never, ever, I've watched Gannon Burr in person plenty of times, and I have never had the feeling of someone's got to call this guy on a time violation. I had that feeling on hole 14. I was watching, and I was like, okay, someone's got to call this dude. Like, there's that, right? Like, this dude's taking eternity. So it is what it is. But yeah, Shay said he then moves his back along the lie play to create a new lie. So that lie he initially addressed no longer existed. I think that is an irrelevant point because I think addressing his lie's out of bounds. So as soon as he addresses the initial lie, you can't recreate a new lie. Like basically, once it's his turn to throw and he walks up, whether he marks his lie or not, that's the addressing of your lie. Is walking up and starting to take it in, and that whole thing he takes an eternity. I appreciate the arguments that are attempting to be made, but again, that didn't even cost him a stroke. It just mentally threw him off. And then I still think that the thing where it went OB shouldn't have cost him a stroke, hitting the rocks or not, because he should have been able to still just get up and down the same. And if he got up and down, like, yeah, he had a chance to make the drop zone putt, but with how Aaron was putting, there's no reason to believe he's going to make the drop zone putt. So that shouldn't have even cost him the stroke either. It's just the mental side. So it is what it is. But who's on the watch list for new contract this offseason? I really need to look into it. The interesting one was Kristen Lott was going to be the big one. But obviously she's retired. So I think that's going to be interesting. On MPO side, there's definitely some guys that are up that'll be interesting to watch. I know from talking to people, the interesting part of the landscape of disc golf right now is House of Discs owns so many of the core companies that really your options are House of like Prodigy's not sponsoring players really on a big level currently, right? So you have Discraft, you have Innova, and then you have House of Discs and MVP. Discraft, Innova, MVP, House of Discs. I know on tour there's some stigma around MVP. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but there is some stigma on tour of people think they couldn't play good with MVP discs. Now, if the money's right, who gives a frick? They're going to do it. But that is a stigma on tour. A lot of those players haven't thrown MVP. So is that a true statement? I don't know. Simon seems to have won plenty with them. But I will say, if you feel Simon Line's discs, because I got to throw the Boca a little bit, Simon did go to MVP and instantly was like, I need deeper drivers, deeper fairways. Which I think that is where a lot of the logic comes from, is MVP's drivers and fairways are very shallow. So basically you have MVP, Discraft, Innova, and then House of Discs. And so what's interesting is within House of Discs, you have Discmania, Dynamic, Latitude, West Side, Castaplast. And like Dynamic, Latitude, West Side used to all be together, but bringing Discmania and Castaplast into that, which Castaplast was never a big sponsor, but even when they were together but separate, like Discmania had a separate team manager, Latitude did as well, and then both of them kind of worked. So like you still had the Latitude Discmania situation, but what's weird now is the fact that like essentially, like if you're within House of Discs, from my understanding, you're negotiating with the same person. So if you don't like your deal that you got with Dynamic Discs, it's basically like you can go ask the same person, like, well, what is Latitude 64 able to give me? And if you didn't like your deal with them, you're probably not going to like your deal with the other. So then at that point, your options are go to Discraft and join the Avengers team. But it's like at that, you're kind of down on the totem pole because unless your name's Ricky Wysocki, Anthony Barella, or Paul Macbeth, like they got their bases covered there. Go to Innova, which historically, like a lot of players have left Innova because of rumors of them not being treated well. Again, all rumors. I don't know if that's actually true or not. So, going to Innova is an option. And then MVP, which MVP seems to be picky and choosy when it comes to big contracts, which I think is the right way to go about it. Like, obviously, you have Simon, you have Eagle, you have Big Germ, you have James Conrad. And then past that, you have people like on their lower team. And so it seems that they're very much in the boat of like, we need our guys that move plastic. We don't need anyone else, which I think is, unfortunately for pro players, the right answer. So I think that's going to be the interesting thing to think about this offseason is with House of Discs being the way it is, it eats up so many options of where players can go and even where players are like want to go. Because like if you get passed around within there, I can't imagine your contract with Latitude 64 is all of a sudden going to be any better than your contract with Dynamic or Discmania, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see this offseason. I'm sure something will happen, but yeah, it is going to be very interesting. White Averson said, I use an inner core for putting. What would you recommend for something like it or close to it? So the inner core is somewhat understable and shallow. I think a fierce. Fierce is going to feel different in the hand, but should fly similarly. There's not a lot that feels like an inner core on the market, but I think a fierce will give you a similar flight. A proxy might give you a similar flight from MVP. Um, but yeah. Seeing Good become the title sponsor of a PGA Tour event, does Foundation hope to eventually be the title sponsor of a Pro Tour event? Um, as it currently sits, no. And I think the my opinion on it is the title sponsor amount it costs to be a title sponsor. I don't think is worth the value, and I think that where Good is going to get a lot of the value because they sponsored a lower level event on the PGA Tour. Right. So it's a fall event. It's going to be well attended, but it's not the big names aren't going to play it. Right. It's not like a one of the premier PGA Tour events. Um, but uh, where they are going to get a lot of benefit from it is not actually the tournament itself, but the press before the tournament. Like right, like the posts going around right now is one of the biggest bang for their bucks that they're getting from this, right? The PGA Tour posting about it, golf.com posting about it, people are writing articles about it left and right to where they're getting so much exposure. Good is for this PGA Tour event a year and a half out, or basically a year out from it actually happening. And so I think it's a very good play for them. Not from, I don't think that the ROI on the direct owning or being the title sponsor of the PGA Tour event is just going to directly translate because it's not like it's going to be on CBS, like it's going to be on like ESPN Plus and the Golf Channel and stuff. Like it's not a big deal from that standpoint, but it's a big deal from the standpoint of all of the press that they get before it, and that's something that in disc golf we do not have. Like if we title sponsored an event next year and then we didn't talk about it, I mean, like, I don't even know if the other podcasts would find it an interesting talking point. They're definitely like really Ulti World. Like we might get a post out of Disc Golf Fanatic, and we might get an article on Ulti World, and that is only worth a 5% of what it would cost to do it. And so no, I think that the title sponsors for the Pro Tour are extremely important for the sport. Um, and I think that it is a very important thing for them to keep doing. But I don't think the direct if that is your marketing budget, like if it's like marketing budget line item, sponsor this event at the Pro Tour takes up 50% of it. I think you're better lighting that money on fire in your living room. Because if that is your marketing plan, is sponsor a Pro Tour event, it will not give you the ROI. Now, if that is a piece of a much larger marketing plan, you're running the Facebook ads, you're sponsoring other local events, you got all of this other stuff going on. You got a pro team, you got all of this stuff. Like, then that can be a good base where it's like that's one more point you're hitting someone, right? But if you don't have the other points you're hitting someone, hitting them once as a title sponsor uh is not going to do anything for you. And that's kind of where we would be at. Like we hit people on YouTube and stuff, and we run Facebook ads and we do Google ads, but we aren't at a marketing budget spot yet where it makes sense to spend so much to even sponsor anything on the Pro Tour. To be quite honest with you, the cost for entry, the barrier to entry, is too high for where we're currently at. We have to continue to develop our other marketing strategies before we get to the Pro Tour side. Because I think that the Pro Tour is what I describe it as white noise marketing. And what I mean by that is the white noise marketing is essentially it's subliminal marketing to a certain extent where it's not going to cause a direct action. It's almost in the background noise, and the goal of it is when for us as a retail store, if they see it enough places, then the next time someone wants to buy a disc, Foundation will already be in their brain and they want to do it. But in order for the white noise marketing to work, there has to be enough for you to hear it, right? Like if I put white noise on and I have it really, really low, I'm not even going to notice it, right? Same thing of like if I have background music playing, that song will probably get caught in my head, but it has to be loud enough for me to hear it to get stuck in my head. If Connor out there right now is playing a song and it's at a volume that I can't hear, it does no good. And I think that's where people, small businesses in disc golf, fail a lot of times. Is they want it's really cool to see your name on the Pro Tour. It is. Um, but the similar thing with sponsoring a player, if that is your entire marketing budget, is an elevated basket or the like freaking stanchion at the Pro Tour, then you will not get the ROI from it, because if you put everything into that and there's nothing else, then it's just people are going to see it once and not even think about it again. And so that's where for us, we're not there yet. We don't have enough white noise to where that is going to be the tipping point that makes it where people will shop with us. And to be honest with you, I don't know when or if we will get there. Just because our company would have to get a lot bigger to have a marketing budget big enough that that is just one more line item. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Do you think Foundation will do another West Coast tour? I don't think we'll do another West Coast tour, but I do think we will probably end up playing West Coast courses again. The tour is just too hard on our families to be out there for that long. So am I able to request white discs when available on the subscription box? I realize and understand this can't happen all the time. Just curious. So Bosco, your best bet is just going to be to email support@foundationdisc.com. I don't think we can make that happen. The only way I think it is possible is if Jason can somehow put into your order notes. But even fulfillment, we typically build the sub boxes out fully and then print the labels and put the labels on the sub boxes. So it's not like we're pulling an order, looking at it, filling that order. So very unlikely. But Jason does some crazy things for people. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. But it is unlikely, unfortunately. Especially also like a lot of boxes just don't have white discs. Like this month's Climo box, use code CHAMP, save $5 on your first sub box. But this month's box, I don't even know if there are white discs, to be honest with you. I'm not certain. Is there a reason a player would choose not to have a caddy? I feel like if Gossage had someone mentally after 14, he could have changed his outcome. Yeah, there's a lot of times are reasons. The number one reason, the number one reason that I've heard players not use a caddy is basically they never have a caddy for practice rounds, never have a caddy like when they're just playing, and so it throws their rhythm off. They're used to the routine of walking up, placing their bag down, getting the disc out. They're not used to, so it just kind of makes them feel uncomfortable. And I think that makes a lot of sense for some players. I do think someone like Gossage could really benefit from a caddy that he trusts. Like if I got on Gossage's bag, I don't think I can help him, right? But if it's like his best friend or someone he really trusts gets on his bag, and in that type of moment, they can help talk him down, I think that could really help him. And so I think it's just what players are comfortable with, though. I'm not sure. Let me try to get a little bit closer to current here. Have I ever putted with the Aviar X3? I've not. I've thrown them, but I've never putted with them. Love seeing Ezra rock the Foundation umbrella this weekend. How many milk jugs that cost? That's funny. I just won a Honeybird OS. I missed it. It's ironic because my name's Hunter too. I think we'll have a Honeybird OS restock in December, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Shay said, I don't think a lot of people understand the manufacturers have to sponsor the Pro Tour events or the tour wouldn't exist right now. Yeah, that is the reality of it is, um, no, I don't think the Pro Tour is doing bad. Like, I don't want this to sound like the Pro Tour is failing by any means, but the Pro Tour needs the manufacturers and the manufacturers need the Pro Tour. And so therefore the Pro Tour can't really fail. Um, because like Discraft, for instance, like their rise in popularity from having Paul Macbeth only happens if there's a tour that Paul Macbeth can dominate, right? Same thing with like AB and even signing Ricky. Like none of those signings really mean that much. Like outside, if the Pro Tour didn't exist, like yes, there would be A tiers and stuff like that, but like if the Pro Tour didn't exist, like then the only influence in moving in the sport would come from content creation. Like that'd be it, right? So the Pro Tour needs the manufacturers to be the title sponsors to pay for ad walls and all of that stuff. And the manufacturers need the Pro Tour to exist because they need the players to be winning on the Pro Tour to be selling their discs. You know what I'm saying? It is a interesting one too. Trek said, "Was it worth it when you sponsored the elevated basket for those few events?" Um, Again, worth it is. Well, I'll put it this way. We There's a reason we don't anymore. I think that worth it from the standpoint of like, did we get exposure for it? Yes. Were we able to donate a lot of money to charity? Yes. So like, was it worth it from that standpoint? Yeah. But we could have made a lot more impact if we just donated the money that we paid for the raised basket to charity. And the exposure we got was not directly worth the amount we paid for it. Um, so from like, am I upset that we did it? No, like I don't regret doing it, but we did learn from it, and I think that's why I'm confident in our decision currently to not do it. So Jomez starting their own tour where they can have all the streaming rights, sell commercials, advertising. Anders, there's one thing key part you're forgetting in this: the Pro Tour owns Jomez. Um, so yeah, I don't think that. I mean, they are kind of like the Jomez series is starting, but yeah, the Disc Golf Pro Tour owns Jomez. So Disc Seeker said, "Is this the best season of Imposter to come out so far? And is there plans to do it next year?" Definitely plans to do it next year. We have a lot of ideas on how to push it again. Is it the best season of Imposter to come out so far? I mean, we yes, we put a considerable amount more money and effort into this year. From the feedback I received from last year, we put it in the right places. So I think it's the highest produced, best piece of content Foundation has ever put out. Pieces of content, 'cause there's 5 of them. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're just looking for our typical disc golf videos where we just go out and play disc golf, then no, it will not be. If you're looking for what it is, a disc golf reality series with, the disc golf being the core centerpiece, the main focus, but obviously throwing in people's thoughts of what was happening when they threw a shot versus when, what someone else's perspective of that shot being thrown was, and the voting dynamic and all of the drama side. Like if you were looking like, I really want to get more of that, then yes, it is. I mean, I'm very biased, but when I watched the first episode, I was like, this is the greatest thing Foundation has ever produced. And I know obviously what happens with the rest of them. I haven't watched every episode yet, but I know obviously what happens with the series because I was there. And so knowing what's coming, like I I I do not think anyone will be disappointed. Yeah. Trek said on Jomez, Yuli said there shouldn't be time calls for lead card because there isn't anybody to hold up behind them. But isn't that what happened when Matteo won while lead card was on like hole 13? Yeah, so I have heard that take from different people, and I fully disagree with it because not having time calls is a huge advantage. And so I think that everyone should play under the same set of rules. That's also why I disagree with the current format, is because you have like lead card. Gossage is called by a Pro Tour representative. That the only reason that got called is because that guy's on lead card. It was just a warning. It didn't give him a stroke. But if I'm on fourth card and I did the exact same thing, there's no one there to call it. So that's why, to me, for the Pro Tour, what should happen is you should have an expected pace of play for the round. Um, and if the gap between you and the card in front of you gets too big, then a representative should show up and basically put you all on the clock and say, hey, you need to catch up to the group in front of you, yada, yada, yada. And then the whole card is under a time crunch, right? Like, that's how I think it should happen. But no, I completely disagree. Like, the lead card should not be able to take 6 hours just because they're the lead card. Where, like, because it's also terrible for coverage. If you have chase card finishing and lead cards on hole 9, well, then for the next 9 holes, you can only show 4 players. So that's terrible for live coverage. No, the lead card needs to be right up against the chase card as much as possible. Not backed up on them, but like there needs to be the same gap between them as everyone else. And they need to be held to the same standard. Right now, I do think it swings the other way. I think they're held to a higher standard, but they need to be held to the same standard. So in my opinion, it's less about loosening the reins on the lead card and more about tightening the reins on the rest of the field. That's my opinion on it. But I fully disagree with the take of lead card should have no time restraint. So, all right, probably the last question here, and then we're gonna wrap this show up. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Mr. Slim Cognito said, "Are you and the boys going to do the imposter recap on the off-season podcast?" That is the plan. So this week is the last week of debate night. We might have a week off and then start the off-season, or we might go straight into the off-season podcast. I don't fully know. The off-season podcast is just our the podcast that keeps you entertained during the off-season. We don't talk about current disc golf news. We don't talk about any of that. We just have a good time and talk about disc golf, read some stories from fans, play a little guess the rating game, all that fun stuff. And last year we did a imposter recap series. This year, I think we will again. We might try to get people to come on and give their thoughts and opinions on, when they got voted out, what they were thinking when they voted for a certain person, what they were thinking when certain moments of the show happened, so on and so forth. So I think we'll probably do that again. But yeah, very excited. So Thursday, tune in on our main channel, Imposter Disc Golf Reality Series Season 2, presented by Discmania, kicks off on Thursday. We're very, very, very excited for y'all to see what we've been working on. And then, Friday, all the foundation stamped goodies you could ever want drops over at foundationdisc.com. So good stuff happening this week. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And talk to you again next week.